Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Q&A, official Q&A on YouTube of Rumble Date. I'm here with William Spencer. My name is PeiPei Alena, and this is a project that we did in 2019. We shot it in 2019, and
Wow.
2 years ago, 2022, we had it in a film festival, the International Los Angeles Film Festival, and we didn't pitch it to any other film festivals just because we got busy with life, but we figured we'd just put it here on YouTube for you guys to enjoy and watch it and rewatch it and be inspired by it. So we're here for any questions. Oh, hello, greetings from Argentina. Thank you for logging in. That's so awesome. That's one of your fans, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, feel free to ask any questions within this live chat. Oh, there was a question I screenshotted actually. Somebody said, what is the chance of meeting a young lady online that knows martial arts and can kick your ass and is really into you? And I said, the chances are really high right now because actually jiu-jitsu is taking the world by a storm. There are so many more females that are actually training MMA and jiu-jitsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu and all kinds of martial arts. So the chances are really high. You'll never know if one of these females or males knows martial arts because it's a very popular thing right now. Yeah. Any other questions? I guess just, feel free to talk your thoughts. Like, how do you feel? I guess I'll ask you questions if no one's asking us questions. How did it feel to get water spit on your face?
I thought that was a pretty funny gag. It didn't really, didn't really bother me because I thought it was going to be really funny, I feel like that's sort of the gauge of a good idea is when, even if it's a little bit crazy, you're still like into doing it, Yeah, that was a funny one. I'm trying to think. It's been long enough that there's a lot of details about it that I'm a little bit not vague on, but like even for instance thinking about like using your parents' house for that at that point.
Oh yeah,
like
awesome.
The set of it, we got to use her parents' house, and it was totally a free-for-all a little bit. It was so cool because they hadn't moved in yet, so it was like pretty perfect. You know?
So we had a model home basically. Everything was kind of just a model home for reference for the homes in that area, and we got to use everything. My parents, at the time my mom was sick and was not living in that house, so we had access to the house for like 5 days. We were shooting 4 days. I don't even remember
at least.
now.
I mean,
we kept adding days.
Well, and did we not shoot a previs?
We shot a previs there for 3 days.
Yeah.
And then we actually planned for a 3-day shoot, but then it became 5 days, and then the day in the park for all the fantasy sequences was another day. Yeah,
and it was really cool because Sean and Eric and Alan and friggin' everyone that helped us. What was cool is not everybody, Nikki May. Who else helped us?
Brittany was makeup, hair. Jana came down for food.
Yeah.
We're getting questions. We also had Alan Quindiagan doing grip work and just helping in general. We had Mark D. Spencer help with the final printout for the screen thing for the viewing for the film festival.
Yeah.
We had the clothes. All of the clothes inside of the house was provided by Elizabeth Carpenter. Her clothing line is called Transfuse. We can put links in the description. And then the clothes in the fantasy sequence was provided. His outfit, the blue suit, was Min Vo. It's an actual vintage outfit that he would wear for 1920s outfits. 1920s dance gigs with Hollywood hotshots. And then my dress was made by Loco Linda LA.
Yeah, it was quite a bit of work. I mean, a project like this that seems pretty self-contained, just the one set and then the outside scenes or whatever. Even with a lot of that, I felt like we put in a ton of work to the details of it. If you notice, like, it was one of those things where I think Pei really wanted to kind of highlight those skills and specific jiu-jitsu things that she had done, but in an entertaining way, and sort of like package it with the most entertainment in between it, so we tried to throw jokes and things in there to kind of like keep the plot going, but also make it like entertaining in general for people. Or, you know, nowadays, like something like this, you can divide it into many pieces for online. You know, people always do that. They're like, well, whoa, I don't want to see a whole short film. Just show me something that's like the right amount of content for Instagram for a thing. So this is one of those pieces that if you watch it back, yeah, there's a heavy amount of jiu-jitsu and moves in it, but as is, it's really great to divide up later, and it's funny in the piece that it is and the amount of time that it is, you know, because I do think it's entertaining enough that through all of the moves and stuff, the sort of telling the story of the day is in there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it was a really fun time period because obviously we were collaborating, and Pei set up a situation that I felt like we could really like improvise a lot in. And some of those moves, obviously, we practiced a lot and they were set, but the actual dialogue around it was definitely a lot of improv and other, you know, funny stuff that just happened in the moment. And I think it shows up in the final product, which is cool. So yeah, trying to think what else we could say about it.
Someone's asking, how long did it take to do all the scenes? They were all entertaining.
Yeah. So, I mean, all together?
Like each scene. So, the outdoor fantasy scene was one day, and it was probably like maybe 4 to 6 hours.
I would say, yeah.
Yeah, from beginning, it was probably like 6 hours setting up, makeup, hair, all the things going out there. It was really windy. And then
it's down by Culver City, right? Yeah.
And then there was even the first date. We shot that after the whole thing was over. We shot the first date out in San Clemente.
Yeah,
and that was probably
completely separate, kind of.
Yeah, maybe 3 hours for that.
Yeah.
And then during inside of the house for all of those scenes, the whole setup in the beginning when she's mixing, that was probably one day when he skates up.
Oh yeah.
And then the stretching part, that was probably the same day. And then after that, when we started doing all the MMA fighting, that was broken up into the probably 3 days. Because we kept adding stuff. And we were shooting a commercial on the side. It was for a drink, a pre-workout supplement. So we had to shoot an entire pre-workout supplement like challenge that was more PC for better Beachbody Fitness, because this version was not accepted by Beachbody Fitness because they thought it was too much domestic violence.
Yeah.
So we shot a whole nother commercial that is somewhere on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, which in retrospect, from their perspective, perhaps it was, but really, if you watch the piece, maybe you guys can give this some thought, but within the piece, the training of it all, it felt very not serious. It felt very like kind of fun and funny, and I think that does kind of come through more than it being violent. But at the same time, you know how it is when you have something that you're selling in a brand, you want to stay so on track just in case someone's offended, you know. So they probably, for them it was a little bit of a risk, but for us it was a good catalyst, because sometimes when you're in the industry for so long, you can't seem to find, it's like we have a bunch of talented friends around, we have a bunch of people that we can make stuff with, but getting like enough money to make something, or the catalyst of wanting to make something but like trying to have a reason to do it, that is sometimes what is actually lacking around here. So that's what was cool. Starting out shooting the commercial and then it becoming what it was a really big thing, because oftentimes we'll schedule stuff that we really want to do and just no one's available or whatever. So this was a rare opportunity for us to actually get to, make it happen for one reason or the other, you know?
Yeah, actually, you were working on Fear of the Walking Dead at the time, and we had this scheduled for the prior week, but then you got work, and then you pulled me on too, so we both were working in Austin on Fear of the Walking Dead before we shot this. So this was like, we kept rescheduling, so trying to reschedule our own projects in between our job has been pretty challenging too, just because like we want to put our whole hearts into it and get everything, you know, lined up with all the production, and we're producing it ourselves, so we don't have somebody who's like taking care of like food. We have to like get the food and then have someone like there's a lot of little details.
Logistics that if you don't make movies that are things are really important, that if they don't get taken care of, it doesn't work. So for us, we kind of have to wear all the hats and do all the things. And for anybody out there who's like wanting to make movies themselves or short films or get into that at all, you know, in a certain way, I think people sort of have a certain amount of prestige or fanciness that surrounds movies, but and a lot of times I think people have also a concept that's like, oh, these people are very self-involved. They want to make a movie about themselves. They want to, but the truth is with a lot of this stuff is when you get out here, there's so many great people trying to get all the jobs that are out here that you getting the opportunity to do what you want, say what you want, be in the kind of movie that you want is so rare because there's just so many people trying out for stuff. People are like, oh, it's really hard out there, I gave up. But it's not because the people who come out here and give up or whatever. It is really hard to get those roles. So the smartest thing to really do is, especially in the YouTube generation, is to literally, if you want to create a character, if you go, I want to be like this or I want to do this, just trust me, like produce it yourself, make yourself look as good as possible, because in the like small instance, someone's like, oh, look at these self-involved people. If you look at Tom Cruise, the reason why Tom Cruise gets to do the stunts he wants to do in his movies, it's why he's known for what he does, is because he's the executive producer. He pays for it, so no one can tell him no when he has a really cool idea and everyone's like, I don't know, that's kind of scary, I don't know. Well, if you're paying for it and it's your project, you have the most creative control. So just remember that, you guys, like with projects like this, we're just excited to make what we want to make, and we love doing other people's projects, but it's rare to get to say exactly what you want to say. So that's sort of what this is, you know? And in a long series of other things that we've made, this is another step towards like that overall goal that we have. So
yeah, and during the time I had gotten my blue belt at Gracie University, so I was training regularly at Gracie University down in Torrance, learning some of these techniques that you've seen in this, and some of them I was learning through the friends that I would roll with as well. And I just there was always like a hint of like, hey, you know, we have to be really professional and really like PC at Gracie University. Nobody can like actually like make it romantic, right? So I had a jiu-jitsu partner, Emil, at the time, and we would always roll together, but there was always like these funny moments. So the part where he says, it feels like more like the happy baby, you know, that was actually a real moment that when I figured out the shin slicer, and then, you know, Emil was put into it, I was like, hey, it's like the happy baby. And he's like, this feels more like the unhappy baby, you know? And so that's where that line came from. And then when I met William, you know, the first time we did Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is we went to Wi-Spa, and you're not probably supposed to be doing this, but we were in Wi-Spa actually doing guard escapes and side control techniques, because that's what I was learning at the time. So we're like in the Wi-Spa shirt and the shorts, and we're like up there in the public area where like there's families taking naps. It was 12 a.m. and we were working on jiu-jitsu techniques in yellow outfits that said Wi-Spa.
Yeah, pretty unruly behavior, which is, by the way, a kind of a funny skit in itself.
Pretty funny, because because jiu-jitsu is like the gentle way, so we weren't like brawling like, you know, like we did in this short film, but we were very slow and calculated, you know, moving around because we don't want to wake anybody up around us. Pretty funny moment. We could make a short. Thank you, Colton.
Yeah,
thanks
guys
for
Colton.
joining.
Yeah, thanks for being here. It's awesome.
Yeah, so the jiu-jitsu, there were so many techniques. There probably were a couple more techniques that I never got in, but this one was like the director's cut, and all the main techniques that we thought of, that I thought of, or he thought of, we put in this, which was so funny to watch. And I really enjoyed actually brawling with William, because he actually would take, instead of like in jiu-jitsu class where people are doing technique, he was actually doing the reactions and like, you know, exemplifying his stunt reactions, which sometimes I'd be like, oh my God, are you okay? Because these techniques are so, like, you can really hurt somebody's shoulder, you know, just with a little bit of pressure, and with the leverage, it's really dangerous. So sometimes I would be like, he'd be like acting and like tapping, and I'd be like, oh my God, did I really hurt you? Uncut. We probably have like a bunch of outtakes where I was worried, but then there was times too, he didn't go easy on me. Like, he definitely gave me pressure back. So what you see is like real brawling. I was definitely sore for 3 days. I had to do like infrared sauna, and we had to get massages. I definitely at some point got a concussion because I just wasn't ready when he dropped me on the carpet. you're just like, you know, in the acting motion, and then suddenly he like let go and I free fall to the ground only this far. And I've done stunts before, but my brain wasn't ready. So I definitely like got a concussion at that moment. And then I had to like take a break for, I don't know, like half an hour or something. I had a headache. Yeah. So it was like, we're really brawling, and there it is, like Rumble Date, and based on true events. We had a blast, and I hope that other people will be inspired to do jujitsu, because it is, you know, these are all real techniques that actually do work in a brawl. But also it's fun to do with your partner, because it's like another way to cuddle, you know, a creative way to cuddle.
Yeah, that's true.
It says, I hope that in the future they do a project together related to Spider-Man. That would be great. I would love to, you know, be a Asian version of Spider-Man, Silk. I think they are talking about that, I heard. I read somewhere that it got greenlit, that they're producing. Maybe I'll get to work on it, I don't know. But maybe I could be an Asian Silk with Spider-Man on a fan film.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of versions of fan films that we could do with that. And we probably will. I mean, we're constantly branching out, where a lot of these projects, even though they've taken this long, it's really given us a solid basis to like branch out and do bigger and bigger projects with more and more people that we know and more friends, where these projects are ballooning out, but in the right way, where we're getting more ambitious, but we also have the experience to be able to like capitalize on that ambition and do it well. And so this is a great example of, you know, you can do a couple people well, you add another person. You can do 3 people well in your short film, do 4. And so I think in the next few years here, we'll really start branching out even more into like full-on stuff, which Spider-Man thing, or, you know, there's a good chance, you know, I think he asked, is there going to be a part 2 of this? You
never know, because this concept is so funny. Like, you literally can make so many short films about dating.
Yeah, you know? sure, in different situations. And
there could be a part 2 where it's like years later, or it could be the next day, which is like the 3rd date. Who knows? Yeah. We're open to suggestions.
Yeah, so no, that's a good idea though, because we didn't. You know, when you put in so much work into something, that even so much thinking about a part 2, you're like, I'm tired.
Yeah, you know, and we made Edward Scissor Dance a year ago, actually now, and so that was something that's not out public either, because there's some copyright things. But we might once we.
And technically that one's done. We also have another one done that's in post called Kitchen Fight, and it's a little bit of a part 2 where it's her and I again kind of brawling. Different characters.
In the kitchen though.
But in the kitchen, and very detailed choreography. That's not like it's not like a John Wick or like everyone breaks their arm. Like it's more like a Kung Fu Hustle kind of funny, interesting use of props in the kitchen that will hopefully be satisfying in a details way of specifics. So
we shot it during the pandemic, so we had a lot of time, and we had 3 people, me, William, and Sean, creatively making up all the movements and the fight and the story. And we just allowed ourselves to really fly free with the creativity, because we didn't have time limits. Like nobody had to go home. We were all stuck inside, and we're like, let's just do it.
And it was cool for it to feel like there was nothing better to do except for create. Yeah. And so that's awesome, because that is. Do you think that's the next one to come out?
I hope so. It's the next
still
one.
In post.
It's still in post.
We're still
working
doing
on
really music, the sound and
music and sound effects. It's probably going to be like 15 minutes. Also, it's a long one, but it's probably the most.
But I think it's an entertaining.
I think it's the most creative and entertaining different fight that we've ever done. There is a trailer teaser on my channel. If you look up Airbnb Brawl, that's probably not what we're gonna call it. Maybe, I don't know.
It's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. But are you planning to do a project for Halloween or not? So we did do one last year. If you look on my channel or his channel, it's Edward Scissor Dance. Right now it is not public, but if you DM us, we could send you a link. And we're probably going to slowly leak a couple more clips out on shorts, but not on this main wide angle, because YouTube gets mad at using Danny Elfman music. So
because it's the original soundtrack from Edward Scissorhands, and it really does fit the clips so well to just switch out to some random music that will clear on YouTube doesn't feel good. So we're trying to kind of solve that problem in an elegant way. So
yeah.
But yeah, P.S. There is always a chance with us. Sometimes we'll just last minute be like, all right, let's film this funny little thing. So I don't think a full-on short film by Halloween or something, but you never know. On Instagram or something, we may get some wild idea and make something really short.
Yeah,
so
we might. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
We always have things where we are blessed with the passion to always create and make things too. We like the process too. We like the process of shooting. Sometimes we shoot a lot of stuff and we haven't even like edited it. Same with Sean Charney. However, we also are blessed and cursed with wanting to entertain people. Like it's very gratifying for us to make stuff to put out there to show people, and even if it's like 5 people logged on today, we're so happy. Like,
yeah. Because I think we're all worried about that sometimes when you put your heart into making something, and we all know how the algorithm and how the internet is now. It's hard for people to see everything, and not because that stuff isn't good, because people are literally, there's so much stuff to see. So when we get these moments where we get to actually like talk to people and hang out and celebrate what we've done, I think even the smallest version of just a few people or whatever, it's still a big deal to us because like somebody took the time to watch it, which is really awesome, especially when they have so many things to watch.
And so it's going to be up. You can rewatch it, and then I'm sure a lot of other people will start watching it. Hopefully we're going to keep promoting the link. We want everyone to see it and be inspired. So as far as I wanted to talk a little bit about the characters with you, because it's pretty funny about, I think for me, my idea when I wrote this, and then William had just always great ideas on set, for more dialogue, which I'm really grateful for, because I was planning out the fight choreography, which was a lot, and how to shoot it, because I always wanted to, as they refer to jiu-jitsu, it's like a silent killer, right? Because you can't see what's going on and all these details. So in the way we shot the jiu-jitsu, I wanted to make sure the camera saw where my hands were, or all the leverage and all the different things your legs are doing, because you're using 4 limbs. And so I was focusing on that. So sometimes I wasn't really focusing on the character, and I'm really grateful that William, that's why this is a great collaboration, because both of us, I feel like we vibe off of each other and we're like, oh, it's so funny. So my idea was like, my character Coco was, very kind of type A, she's like, the drink is like part of every time she works out, she always has to take a pre-workout supplement. She's very tidy. As you can see, her apartment's very tidy. Everything's nice and neat, her hair, her outfit. And also she's annoyed with him that he's late to work out. And, and then he lies and says that he's, traffic was real bad, but then she sees he's using a skateboard, and she's like, and and she's the kind of girl who's like already been doing online dating on Bumble Date and met a bunch of people, and just she's not like, she thinks he's cute, but she's kind of like peeping him out, like, can he hang or not, and is he lying about certain things, and so I think the MMA thing is like her test. Like, this is not the first time she has done this. She has probably tested a lot of people, right, to see if she can do MMA on them, and how long they can last. And maybe there's been lots of guys who walk out too, and so she's loving it. Like, as you can see, she's like, oh, this is the best date ever, because he's actually staying the whole time, and she doesn't know that he's actually has a bet with his best friend to stay there. So I just felt like the two characters, they really complement each other. Charlie is supposed to be the neurotic kind of lovable loser, and then I'm kind of like the type A, sometimes just like very straightforward, not bitchy, but just like just more, what is it called, like just more strict, I guess, more
I would say uptight,
little uptight,
uptight, and like a little bit wound up,
and I'm also like what is it called, illusions of grandeur, like not illusions of grandeur, like delusions of grandeur, where I am like, wow, this is so romantic, to me it's like, wow, this guy is sticking through and putting up with this, and he's giving me a fight back, but it's so fun, and like, you're really enjoying it, and he's like kind of surviving and worried about it, and just like,
if he hadn't made a bet, there's no way he would have stayed long.
Yeah, and then so he does it, but he does think she's pretty, so he doesn't want to like, really punch her out or anything. He's trying to stay in the day, and also he doesn't want to be alone for the rest of life. So there's a lot of stakes that are going on in the scene, which we wanted to make sure that people understood that. And yeah, any other comments about Charlie?
Yeah, I think that I think Charlie's obviously some of this stuff solidifies after you film it. In the moment, that sort of stuff for us was kind of like, we're just kind of like going with it right now. We don't know, like that character feels the most correct for this, but when you really, from a distance, at least for me, when you look at it now, the Charlie character is a lot more obvious in the just like trying to win a bet. He's like he's proactive, but he's like kind of scared of dating. So he's like, oh man, like I don't really want to do this, but I will. At least I could win a bet. And I think it's awesome because it's clearly his intentions are just like in the back seat a little bit, where he's like, whatever, I'll just make it through this day, who cares? And then all of a sudden he finds himself in super deep, and then he's like, what have I done? But then he's like, oh, I don't want to not win the bet. Do I stay around? And like, this is romantic. And you can just feel his like confusion along with his like attraction, where all those things are hitting him at the same time, and he's just kind of riding those waves through the whole short, where you can just tell he's like, I kind of want to give up now. And then, he's in some stranglehold. But it's awesome because I do think there's a little bit of perseverance in that he's like trying to make it through anyways. And then by the end, I think it's awesome because the bonus of him being like, that drink is delicious, and like, I'm finally not a huge wimp because of it, even though that's obviously very comedic and like unrealistic.
I mean, that's what the viral commercial for a pre-workout supplement called Fuel was supposed to be about, is that I was drinking the pre-workout supplement. He was drinking something that had 200% pure sugar, and he sugar crashed, and so he's got brain fog. So he keeps like not focusing. He's like fantasizing. He keeps going into the fantasy world, which is that scene. And then she's like, you gotta stay focused, And so this pre-workout is supposed to like say like, hey, focus. But it all plays into the character as well, as like, I want to stay focused. I'm type A, uptight, and he's not. So that's why the drinking, we kept sipping and stuff.
Because it was like, like any sort of like, comedy situation, it's always funny to have stakes that aren't realistic usually, but that's what's cool about art, is you can kind of like exemplify or stretch people's motivation sometimes, or you can stretch like how they're affected by certain things, or even their level of intelligence in this way. Where you can just tell Charlie, you're like, I don't think he's the smartest guy, but he's still there. That it's fun. The audience loves character. If people are too smart, you don't even have a plot. There's no problem. Everybody goes, never mind. I don't feel like being on this date, and then nothing happens. So it's fun to be able to stretch that for the audience, so you can see the problem solving he's going through, and also you can tell how much she's enjoying just him going through the process. And you're like, wow, this lady's kind of giving him a beating, but you can tell she's like, not meaning to. She's just like, oh, this is awesome. And it's fun, that contrast of what their characters want from that situation and each other. And then by the end of it, obviously it's ridiculous because her overall goal was achieved, which is she's like, oh, I got to spend time with this guy. And then when he ends up coming back and like dropping his stuff off, she's like, she kind of knows his program by the end, where she just shakes her head, when he brings the water bottle back for his shoes or whatever. So I think it's a cool contrast between two characters. That way, because if they're on the same team, you also don't have much of you need, and I'm sure you guys know this, but for the good plot of anything, you really need two sides of a conflict, and you need both of their perspectives to be like, they both have a really good point. They're like, they both, like, the argument is like almost equal. That's what keeps it going for so long. Because if you go, oh, this person's right, this person's wrong, there's no conversation about it, Whereas an audience, we wanted to set up for you, like, I don't know, should he keep going? I don't know, is she really having fun? I don't know, is this dating? So it's cool to kind of try to set that up. But
so funny. Any other things you want to say about filmmaking, or about Charlie, or about
for this,
I personally loved, when I thought of his character for you, when I saw Bellman and I saw other things you have been in. I think particularly Bellman, and just knowing what a funny character you were. I felt this was something you hadn't done before, but I knew that you could do it perfectly. And so nice I really enjoyed directing you. You directed me too, but I really enjoyed directing you because it was so funny to me, because I was so straightforward and uptight. So when your your facials were like animated and all the things, like it was hard to, I broke character a lot. It was hard to like keep a straight face about it because of how funny it was. Yeah, I felt that it was necessary that I was uptight so that your character's quirkiness and lovable loser stood out more.
Yeah, no, I do think that was good for you to set it up that way, and I do think there was the slightest amount of originality in it, because normally when people do lovable loser, they're sort of like, oh, we get it, he's whatever. But in this way, when it changes gears later and he drinks the stuff, he's like, all right, give me that. You're kind of like, oh wait, who is this guy? I do like that we added that in there, because sometimes when people choose exact tropes of like, well, here's why writing, there's only 7 stories, and people get into like, well, let's just make a character like this is what people are used to. It's really fun to be able to throw in a little bit of a twist on things like that, so that not that we change the character at the end, but we literally introduce a new element for him to show a new side of himself. And when we did that, I think the audience, like kind of ramped up the stakes even a little bit more, where now this lady's like, wait, I'm not even sure what I'm in for. I was one in control of this date, and now I'm not in control, but it's getting desperate, but the other direction. So I thought that was a kind of a fun choice that you made. Yeah.
I thought it was funny that also I kept offering you, and you're like, no, I'm okay.
Yeah, that's the best part, is like you just can't lead a horse to water and make them drink it. Yeah, that was really fun. I thought that, like, for the audience, I like that people, I don't think it was frustrating. I think people like, just drink, just try the drink, Yeah, it was fun.
So funny. And then in the fantasy too, when we were cheersing and you're like, and yours was, you're like, oh no.
Yeah, totally. No, it was awesome. And for you, how much and that's a little bit from real life. If Pei ever drinks something or anything that's like bad for her, it'll almost be like it's poison, because she just doesn't ever drink. She's like, what? This has high fructose. What the? Like, she's just not down.
Like read the label and be like, no, here.
Yeah, but it's almost an emergency, which is really funny. That I like that you put into that character. But yeah, I think that was what was fun about this, is there are elements, and like you do anytime you make something, you add or take away from like who you are as a person, and you add in elements and play them up for the audience to like kind of react to. And you get to explore it. It was really fun to explore the character like that, where he's like, I'm a pretty polite person, so my like even if I do show up late, I'm very like obviously super, apologetic or whatever, where he was like, yeah, whatever, oops, like he's just trying not to get caught.
Yeah.
I thought that was fun. I thought that his like shamelessness about it was pretty awesome. And then his shamelessness is once he gets the drink and he realizes what it's doing for him, instead of being like, oh, well, I'll just get some later, you're awesome, like trying to make the date go good, he was like, give me that, like I want, which I thought was a funny character thing too, where you're like, wow, this dude is like not afraid to like just throw this girl around now. You're like, wow, what a guy, but your character didn't really mind that, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah,
your character was like, oh no, what happened? And then she's also like,
she was like laughing. I was laughing when he had me up, in balancing, and I was just like laughing and playing, and it was very playful.
Yeah,
which is very important. You guys should never stop playing and being a kid. I love this question from LIT Gray Cox from Argentina. One last question before I go. What was your favorite scene of both of you in this project? I was going to actually talk about this. My favorite scene, because I had to edit. I was editing, doing this, sound effects and all this. My favorite scene was the moment when he was like, listen, girl, I got to go. And he starts to head out the door, and I'm like, and then he turns, just kidding. And he comes and he bum rushes me and grabs onto my hips, and then I guillotine him. And when I would edit that, I would laugh every time. I still laugh when I watch it right now. Just the way he's like, listen, girl, I gotta go. Just kidding. And then he goes in. But that's my favorite moment. Yeah. I also really love how I would do in the fantasies he was fantasying about. And then it would go into like the room inside the apartment of the same type of move. So I really loved like cutting those together, because that was my vision, is like he sees it in a certain way, I see it in a certain way too, so you can tell when it's my fantasy, and he's looking all awkward in the fantasy, but I'm happy in the fantasy, and then it goes back into the room, and we're doing the similar kind of like movements. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your favorite moment?
I mean, no, it was pretty well said, actually. I don't have too much more that I thought about besides that. No, I think that moment was really funny to like, and I think I improv, you know what I mean? I improv that one time, you know?
It's so funny. When we shot it, I died laughing too.
Yeah.
We had to cut it because I was laughing so hard.
But it was one of those things too, you know, where it's like, sometimes when people are losing super badly and the ability to like, or the like thought like, all right, I gotta cheat my way out of this real quick, especially because like, you know, we all have that sort of like stipulation in your mind. You're like, yeah, they can wrestle and whatever, but you know, like, let's not get too crazy. I like that he was starting to come unhinged as the time went on, where he's losing super bad, and then once he drinks the drink, you know, he's like, I don't know. I just that was one of those funny moments where you're like, wow, he's really starting to lose it. Like just going full out, and of course it was still, you know, cordial, but it just made me laugh. Yeah.
Also the moment at the end when you're like, listen, this has been great, and I gotta go, but you're stealing the drink.
Yeah.
That was also your idea, and that was hilarious too.
Yeah, it's funny that he was like
and
talking
I'm like,
his
what
way.
is that? And you're like, what's that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That was a pretty
we did have fun filming, and that's what's cool about filming stuff like this is
we added stuff. We're like freestyle adding stuff later.
And sometimes if you're on a big enough set, you know, there's just no changes. People are like, no, just stick to this exact thing, especially on TV shows, you know, they're like, nope, it's to go to the next thing, it needs to be just this.
The writers, there's writers there. Yeah. It was cool that we were the writers because we literally could discuss right then, like, should we add this part, or would it be funny if this happened? And some of our best ideas happen like that, and that's why I'm really excited for Kitchen Fight, because that is what's gonna, like, that was a lot of like, okay, this happens. We had like a basis idea, and then we started just adding on and just being like, okay, let's try it, and we'll just shoot it and then edit it later, you know. Funny.
Yeah, it was cool because we had a lot of things in there, especially like when you direct stuff. This is hilarious. When you direct stuff, you there are jokes and stuff that when you're writing it, you just never think of until that moment. And these are a bunch of examples where we're like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious right now.
Yeah.
And what's cool is we would also shoot it, you know, just like, all right, shoot it the regular version. Now shoot it like this super crazy way. Now shoot it like this. So it's a good example of like, start with whatever you wrote all the way into improv, and then come all the way back, and then you have all those pieces in case later in your edit, you're like, this is kind of boring with the regular lines, that you just throw in funnier and funnier stuff as you go. So it was a good example. Yeah.
We like scary movies too. There's actually like a horror Fright Night movie on my channel. You can check that out, that I shot last year. It's out. It's just me, and Sean Tarney shot me, and it's pretty scary. As far as horror movies, we don't really like them. We appreciate them. We've been in them, I guess, but we don't really like watching them. We both get scared. But we did shoot something called Don't Wanna Shauna 2 years ago, and that's kind of like a suspense thing. That's also on William's channel. If you check that out, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's like mostly comedic. I mean, it's a little bit suspenseful, but it's mostly just funny. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's enough time. Almost 40 minutes. You guys. Thanks for hanging with us.
Feel free to ask us any other questions. Thanks so much. And feel free to watch Bumble Day. We'll put it in the link in here too. And stay tuned for our podcast, Secret Action Heroes. Episode 1 is coming out very soon to talk about William's time on the Amazing Spider-Man. Oh wait, no. What are we talking about? No Way Home? No. Yes? No Way Home?
I think so.
We talk about No Way Home, I think, on the first one. So stay tuned for the first episode of Secret Action Heroes podcast featuring William Spencer.
Yeah.
Take care. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.